All right. Good evening, everybody. Looks like since I had put the title up for what has happened with Charlie Kirk, that he has since actually passed away, at least according to what I'm seeing out there. And let me see if we could pull up some information. It's a very unfortunate situation, but I'm not surprised because of the nature of the country right now. So let's look at the last hour and see what has happened. So yeah, Charlie Kirk, I'm not really. It says here, and I'm seeing it from here. I'm not going to click on it, but we can actually read it. It says the great and legendary Charlie Kirk is dead. No one understood or had the heart of the youth in the United States of America better than Charlie. He loved and admired by all, especially me. And now he is no longer with us, Melania. And his sympathies go out to his beautiful wife, Erica, and family. Charlie, we love you. And you know what's interesting about this, and I just realized this is the day before 9/11, and what is happening is that the way the politics and is going, uh, it's brewing up for a civil unrest. Okay, and this happened in Utah. You know, I don't know what's going on politically in Utah or socioeconomically in Utah. This, of course, cannot be blamed on so-called black people because last I checked, Utah does not have a large black population. Um, so the shooter was an elderly, or you could say elderly white male. He looked like he's in his 50s, roughly, and they did catch him. I don't know if he shot with a firearm or more than likely it was a handgun, but I don't know if it was with the rifle. But you know, he probably wasn't too far from him, and it looked like it hit a critical area. And I don't believe that this is a staged situation like what happened with the president. That was staged. Unfortunately, a lot of people were able to use that to generate the kind of, you know, viewership and information, you know, money from people as they wanted to. You know, that whole thing was just a circus in and of itself. And for those that know me, I've even talked about this being a potential false flag assassination or assassination attempt on the president. I said that years ago. In my some people that are within my circle know about it, and it happened. It just so happened when he was, you know, running for re-election, and this situation where you have the tension going on. There's a lot of stuff going on because even within the conservative right, um, there are those that are feeling left behind, especially the voters, the people that were supporters of the right wing politics, supporters of Trump, believed in the Make America Great Again, and now they're losing steam. And at the end of the day, you can only view the reality that's going on in the ground in your own life, right? And you have farming communities that are complaining about not being able to make money, and they're blaming Trump's tariffs for causing the issues because the tariffs did cause an issue for their food supply that they sell in the market to be you know, not worth as much. And now they're trying to hold their head above water, but they can't. And now they're realizing, like, at the end of the day, you can run with the politician, but that doesn't mean the politician is going to do what's in the best interest for you at the end of the day. And they'll use these divisive tactics to sway you to vote for them and to believe in them, only for it to be detrimental to yourself. And the thing about it is, the Charlie Kirk situation, this is going to make someone like Myron Gaines. Myron is not going to be out there doing the stuff that he's doing. I think most recently Myron was out there in South Carolina. He could forget about that, because once you have this type of situation happening, and if you see here, it says Charlie Kirk, a conservative activist and founder of Turning Point USA, was shot today. So he's only 31 years old. Now, let me tell you this. Here's the thing with Charlie. You know, he pushed bigotry. He's 31 years old, so I think that might be the oldest age within Gen Z. You know, it's in that pocket. You know, getting close to millennial, but really Gen Z, if you really think about it, because you know, he would have been in 2000. That's 25 years ago. He would have been 6 years old. I think if you didn't really remember the whole issue, the whole time frame of 9/11 and the going into the war in Iraq and Afghanistan, if you're not at the age where you can comprehend that, I think you're going to have a hard time understanding global politics. That's why I always find it funny that so many of these young guys, especially under like 35, a lot of them, they don't even understand like the world before social media and how things were communicated across. You know, of course, you always had television, but that television was a limited amount of information that people were getting. And then they would just spew that information back with their friends because that's all they were getting their information from. And I can remember when Fox really became really super right wing, with Hannity and a lot of different guys, man. That 2000s era of Fox was like the biggest jump for Fox, especially for Fox News, because Fox is known just for, you know, the other channels that it had, basically mainly Fox, that had like a lot of great shows and cartoons and things like that. They would show movies as well. But once Fox got to the level where they became a news station and they needed to compete with CNN and MSNBC, then what happened was they took on the right wing and they sat in that right wing spot and solidified it as far as among the major networks. And CNN tried to be a little bit centrist at times, but they continued to veer more towards the left. And then, of course, we know that MSNBC was far left. So depending on who you're watching, especially 20 years ago, if you just stuck watching, I remember even being in college and going and seeing, like, because I wouldn't put on, you know, Fox News, and I would go to the cafeteria, and I remember one time Fox News was on, I would listen to what they're saying. I'm like, dang, like these guys is different. You know what I'm saying? It was on a whole different plane. It was crazy. And if you just consumed one type, you just stuck with that. And I think now with social media, because of these different social media personalities, what's happening is that we have a time when you can really aggregate a lot of these talking points because people can see them on their YouTube, their TikTok, their X accounts, their Facebooks. And now you're not having to go to a designated time of the day like we would 20 years ago, before social media, before smartphones, where we had to wait till we got home or wait till we got into a break room or something like that to watch what is going on. And then we would have that short limited amount of time where we would get that information and then we would go about our day. But now you can consume stuff like this daily. And a lot of this stuff is hypnotizing the hatred that's involved in a lot of these situations, especially with the situation with Charlie Kirk. Now, here it is right here. Charlie Kirk shooting suspect said, "I do it again after taken into custody." Okay, so it says here that the conservative political activist Charlie Kirk shot at the Utah event, condition unknown. Now, that was 36 minutes ago. But we know that he has since passed, at least according to, you know, the information here. And I saw the video. Of course, you know, I can't play it here. You got to go to X to see it. Yeah, where he got shot, there's really nothing you can do in that area. You'd have to just hope it just didn't hit any major artery. If it hit a major artery, he's done. Because even on a surgical level, to prevent the blood from flowing out of his neck and that artery, there's really no way. It's just very difficult to stop it. And then you have to repair it all at the same time, bro. Like, I'm pretty sure they did everything they could to try and save him. But man, you get hit in an area like that, there's really not much that can be done. Now you got liberals. So you got, and this is part of the problem. You know, this is how stupid people are. And let me tell you something, even if you disagree with somebody's political stance, um, especially like an elective official or even some of these figures that are out here, these even if they're shills, you the worst thing you can do is to antagonize their side by these type of actions. And what's very interesting is that, and this is not the same because what Martin Luther King was is nowhere near what Charlie Kirk was himself. Let's just keep that straight. But Martin Luther King, when he was assassinated on April 4th of 1968 in Memphis, the white people around the country were celebrating. There's actually stories. I saw a story from the integrated school, I think it's Central High School out there in Little Rock. It had been integrated a decade or so prior. And so it was a mix of, black students and white students. And the white students were celebrating when they heard that, Martin Luther King had gotten shot. And, the black kids were upset. I believe there might have even been some fights over that disrespect. And I remember somebody who was older, who went to that high school because they were interviewing him when it happened. Is an older black older person who's black person who went to that school, and they talked about that event and how hurt they were, at their white classmates celebrating the death of hearing about the death of MLK. And it caused a lot of riots around the country. The riot, you can look up the riots of 1968 in that spring that occurred after the death of Martin Luther King. So a lot of people, they are pushing this to the next level of escalation, okay, where you're not going to like the backlash. I think that if you are, and the thing about it, at the end of the day, I'm not here to even change those people's minds. I'm just here to bring awareness of information about how dangerous these things are. Okay. And the thing about it is, you're not going to change these liberals' minds. You're not going to change their minds. They're all there right now. You're going to see a lot of very, even though Charlie Kirk was pushing a lot of hate, a lot of anti-black rhetoric. Okay. And, it is what it is. He lived by it. He lived and died by what he stood on. And he, for whatever reason, the motive behind why the man did it, we won't not know until, the information is released. But at the end of the day, he was peddling around about how black people were criminals in 1350. And then now look how he passed away. A white man in Utah, a place where there's no black people. See, this is the problem with a lot of white right-wing conservatives. You try and paint black people as your boogeyman, but you have the enemy within among yourselves. You don't even think about how you're much more of a detrimental to yourself than black people will ever be to you, at least now. Maybe in the world to come in another age, because every dog has his day. And there's a time when people, rise into power as a race and they fall down. Okay. And a lot of people don't want that to happen. And that's why they're fighting tooth and nail to maintain supremacy over other people. That's cool. Just know that however means you're doing it is always going to be what you reap is what you sow. And sometimes situations like this don't come at the hands of the people that you would expect. You came in a place that is considered relatively safe, even by American standards. And they say, well, there's no black people here. So, we should be good to go, right? That will probably be the irony with the situation with Charlie Kirk and his racist rhetoric, is that he got taken out by his own. See, even the likes of Malcolm X, when he would talk about white supremacy and racism, he always talked about black people that are willingly to be used to undermine or to reputation destroy or even take out black men. Okay. He always referred to the house Negro, okay, who was more concerned with how Massa was doing than how his own people were doing. So it's not like he didn't have that scope of understanding. Okay. But these liberals, they're celebrating. And then now, if you go to TikTok, it's probably ugly as hell right now. Like TikTok is probably looking crazy right now with these liberals. And these are, look, and a lot of them are women too. A lot of them are women. Can you believe that? I thought women were people that liked others, that were, nurturing and empathetic. Huh? That's what I thought. You tell me. Tell me. Hold on for one moment. Let me check something out real quick. Yeah, it's crazy work, bro. Yeah, a lot of people, what they like to dish out um certain type of energy towards people, but they don't like it when it comes back. And a lot of these same right wingers too, and I want to put this into consideration, they would celebrate at if somebody on the left or somebody that's against their talking points were also harmed as well. So let's get that straight. Let's get that very clear. Okay.
Because I just watched a video, and on cue, you have people on the left who are already politicizing Charlie Kirk being shot in the neck, and we don't know if he's alive or dead. Some people are saying he's stabilized. Some people are saying that he may have passed away. I saw a video up close of the shot, and I am still shaking, traumatized over what I saw. Like, it will be a miracle if he survives this, and I pray to God that he does survive this. But this is what people on the unhinged left on TikTok are doing.
This is what people are saying. Now, if you tell these people in these posts, these conservatives that are sick, and some of these are liberals that also don't like this, um, they celebrated when Martin Luther King got killed. Martin Luther King was pushing nonviolence. He wasn't even pushing what Malcolm X was pushing. And oddly enough, white people celebrated more when Martin Luther King got killed, assassinated, than when Malcolm X did. Because Malcolm X was not as big of a figure, even though he was known. Malcolm X was the internationally known figure, and that's why even till today, if you go to school, they don't teach you about Malcolm X. They teach you about MLK. They teach you about the Mobile, Alabama boys boycott. They'll teach you about him going to the Washington Monument and doing the "I Have a Dream" speech, and then they'll give you his time when he got assassinated. And then that's what you get in school. You don't get anything else. And that's what I got when I was coming up. I don't know what these young Gen Z people were getting. Ain't no telling what they're teaching them. because the stuff they're teaching them in schools, we didn't even get taught that. Especially like the whole multiple genders. Y'all got to deal with that. We never had to deal with that stuff. That stuff, if you told us 25 years ago that we would have to deal with that stuff being taught in school, we would be like, you're lying. There's no way. If you had a poll and you asked people, if you had a street interview that was recorded 25 years ago in 2000, and you ask people that one and told them, do you believe that one day we'll be teaching X, Y, and Z to children? They'll say, are you kidding me? Like, no, that's a fantasy world. That's never going to happen. We would not allow that. Well, look at where we are. You know what I'm saying? Let me see here. Yeah, so it is what it is, man. We at the time now. And the thing about it, the rhetoric on social media is so easy to go around. Someone can loop stuff like this and make it very difficult. Make it very difficult for people to really be involved in any type of political activity. That's why I'm against politics anyway. I think politics is for people that don't know what's really going on, because agenda is already there. There's already agendas when it comes to what we're in this time and period. The agenda is already out there. Okay. And they had the World Economic Forum. You have these different banking institutions, especially at the international level, where they're trying to get rid of the current currency system and move it into a different one. And a lot of people have no idea, like, that this is not going to end well for the average person, but they're too busy being distracted by politics. So, turning point America, that is a turning point. I think that what's going to happen also is that a lot of these people that are social media influencers on the right and even on the left, I believe that they're going to be very careful to probably be out in public spaces. We see here, we got a live stream with Megyn Kelly. Okay. And Megyn Kelly is someone who has a lot of influence as well. We know she should be a Fox News correspondent. And we see here that it's official, 1993 to 2025. And, this could be like more of a civil war within the conservative circles, because what's happening even among the right-wing conservatives, the people that claim MAGA, there's actually split, because what's happened is Trump is showing so much preferential treatment towards the Israeli government, which is something that a lot of people in MAGA, they want that to stop. They want the money that's sent to Ukraine and to um, the Israeli state to stop going there and to be here. They want manufacturing to come back. They want America to go back to the boom era. They want a new baby boom. They want to have so much money that they can go marry their their little Sally Mae. See, and that's what a lot of white men, young to middle age, they don't have that anymore. The middle-aged to older men, a lot of them are suffering in marriages. A lot of them have been divorced. A lot of them have been put through the court, through the ringer, okay, and have found themselves in a low position, and they want to get some kind of bounce back, and the government is not trying to fuel that. And truth be told, it's not that America can't have another economic boom. It's that the people that's ruling America, the shadow government, don't want it. They don't want it because there's certain things you can do. You can have contracts with companies, and they do this in other countries where they set up living spaces for their employees. They do this even over here to a certain degree. Like a lot of these oil fields, they like West Texas and in the different parts of the Midwest, they actually have a situation where they'll pay these guys pretty good money, and then they'll also house them and give them a daily stipend. And if a man works in a situation like that where he's not paying for housing, his food is covered with a daily stipend, and he's getting paid, let's say he's getting paid like $30 an hour, and he's working 45, 50 hours a week, but he doesn't have to pay for those expenses. A man could actually invest some of that money, save some of that money, and if he's there for 5 years, he could come out very good in 5 years and be able to then reinvest himself, either skill up, go back to school to get another skill or certification, or use that money even to start a business. He can also get housing, okay? Because if he saves half of that money over 5 years, $200,000, and he puts it in certain, economic, money tools, financial tools, and he says, this money is just for me to buy housing cash that I want in 5 years. He can go and get like a spot. He can go get him a flat, what they would call a flat, but he can go get him a spot that's like a 2-bedroom, 1.5 bath townhome or something, or a condo somewhere, or even a small house somewhere in one of these towns and cities around the country, where he can look on the map and be like, oh, this is 80,000. I can just move to a place right outside of, Little Rock, Arkansas, or something like that, in a quiet community, and have me a nice house, renovate it, and start a business. Maybe have to drive in 30, 45 minutes into Little Rock or another bigger city to do whatever he does, but at least he has something. It's not happening like that because they're trying to change the system. Okay. And then if you look at the fact that America postures itself as, the leader of the free world, and then in addition to that is also the bully of the world, a lot of countries don't really trust America anymore. They don't want to be like America, and they don't trust America. And that's all done by design. What happened is that the true character of America has revealed itself to the world, especially after the fall of the Soviet Union. Because before, with the Soviet Union being painted as the big bad enemy, people can give plausible deniability that America was actually looking out for the best interests of humanity. And then when the Soviet Union collapse happened, and then it was just America there in front of the world, then they saw what America was capable of doing without being able to point fingers and blame Russia or the Soviet Union. People began to realize the true nature of America, is that America is an empire that basically plunders countries, destabilizes them, takes out the leaders that have the best interests of their people, people especially like Gaddafi. You can't say that Libya is a better country now without Gaddafi than it was with Gaddafi. You'd be kidding yourself. But if you ask an average American, particularly on the right, they didn't like Gaddafi, or maybe they like Gaddafi and say, oh well, that was Obama. The left did that. Um, when you look up the plan of the shadow government of the Pentagon, their plan was to destabilize multiple countries in North Africa and the Middle East, regardless of who was president. And they've been able to effectively do that because it's not about if you're on the right or about the left. It's about what the agenda is and what's the end game. And a lot of people are in the middle of everything, but they don't understand the end of everything. You might know how things started, you're in the middle of it, but you can't even see where it's going and where it's going to end. Okay? See, so I'm pretty sure Myron has updated. Okay, so I'll mute. Yeah, so Myron has updated his information. Some people are saying it's maybe a false flag. The people are telling Myron to be careful. I'll give Myron credit. He's a fearless dude, because even if let's assume that, I don't know who would be paying him, to be honest, because he really is against a lot of the stuff that Trump is doing. But he still considers himself a right-wing conservative. Now, me myself, I don't respect everything that he has to say. You know what I'm saying? I could just crush so many of his talking points. I'm talking about Myron. I mean, really crush it. Even worse than what Tariq Nasheed can do. Tariq wouldn't be able to, because Tariq is too protective of imagery of Black Americans to the point where he'll deny stuff that's actually truly happening in the Black community. And he'll try and blame and deflect immigrants and other people for some of the behaviors that's happening among our people. I won't even do that. I'll acknowledge, so that way we can get to the point where I can destroy the talking points that Myron's wrong on. You get what I'm saying? So I'll acknowledge certain things, but I'll acknowledge it with clarity. Okay? And Myron, he's probably not going to do more touring. It's just not worth it. You know what I'm saying? Like, Myron is he's on a run, bro. I'm not going to tell you. I'm going to feel like this. Like, out of all the content creators, Myron is, and I don't really like Myron. Okay? But he stands on a lot of business that a lot of people wouldn't be standing on. I'm telling you that. I do say he does pander to the right wing white, and I think he sees that whenever he deals with the Palestinian issue. Because at the end of the day, you can't pulling up yourself by your bootstraps when it comes to Black Americans, but then and say that Black Americans are saying that they're victims, and then you're telling us that Palestinians are victims. We should be able to say that the Palestinians need to pull themselves up by their bootstraps, and that they need to figure things out, that they're not oppressed. Like, regardless of all the information about how they're being oppressed, if I just deny it, just like he denies systematic racism and white supremacy in this country against Black Americans particularly, and against Black people as a whole, then two can play that game. And I think at that point he'd realize that he'd have to give a little bit of leeway and say, yeah, you're right. If he doesn't want to do that, then we can sit on that the Palestinians that he complained that he's looking out for every day, that they just are complainers, that nothing's happened to them, because that's what the Israelis are saying. The Israelis are saying that they ain't oppressing them. That's how a lot of these oppressed groups, the oppressor class, the oppressor class and group or ethnic group or race in any country, one of the things that they do is they deny that they're oppressing the people that they're oppressing. They deny it's oppression. They just say you're complaining. That's what they do. And Tariq, I don't know. See, Tariq, the statement that he made that they're talking about, Tariq was talking kind of, he made a little post. I won't be able to get to it. He might even put it back up, but it was really, you could say it was somewhat of, it was not tasteful, the post that he did to concerning Charlie Kirk. If anything, Tariq could have said it's unfortunate. He could have said something that people on the right would have respected him for, and he could have still stayed on his certain talking points that he has concerning where he stands on various things. But Tariq doesn't understand that with that post, he made himself a target. Like he made himself a target, bro. I like, dude, like you don't want to put that type of target upon yourself with rabid um fans, right wingers. Not on that level. Because I'm gonna tell you this: if something had happened to Tariq, Myron would not go that low. Myron will show at least a bit of humanity. Say, hey, I disagree with Tariq on a lot of what he stood on, but one thing that I don't believe is that as people that have the right to free speech in this country, that we should be killed for our speech. For our right to free speech. He would have done it just like that. I disagree with him on a lot of stuff, but I never wanted to wish any harm to happen to him. Yeah, that's what Myron would say. Tyreek misses the boat because Tyreek is a megalomaniac. He's a narcissist. He's a grifter par excellence, man. There's nobody has there's in the black community, there's nobody on the level of grifting when it comes to it. Bro, he's an elite level grifter. Past Sonnetter, past Brother Polite. I mean, he's higher than even Jesse Jackson was. Because Jesse Jackson needed like the actual machine. Tariq is doing the grift without the machine and changing up his stance every 5 to 7 years. And then he'll destroy the very grift that he was on previously. And his followers won't even realize it. They'll just go on to the next grift. Bro, America's in a bad case right now, bro. America's in a bad situation. A lot of these people that want to come to America, they don't understand how volatile this country is, bro. And it's getting like this more because of economic deprivation, social deprivation. Because, that's one of the things is that when you experience certain things where you can then relate to other people, you understand the frustration. You can understand the frustration of like not being able to, move up career-wise, not being able to get a great job, not being able to have a good family situation, a wife, kids, or not having no access to your kids. Bro, it's bad out here. It's bad. It's really bad out here in America, bro. America is a facade. It ranks very low in terms of quality of social life. You can't trust your neighbors. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes your neighbors' kids is disrespectful. They don't respect you got grown adults that don't respect people's sleep. On a weeknight, they'll have their music blasting in the middle of the night. They be outside talking. People trying to go to work the next morning. They don't give a damn. You confront them about it. They yell at you, tell you go back in your spot. You got people that are freaking crazy in this country. And some of them saying they believe it's a Zionist attack. I don't know. I mean, the man was arrested, so unless he was like a patsy for the Mossad, I don't know what sense that would make. Let's play some of the stuff that he's saying, because I don't think he's monetized. I think I can talk over it and not have an issue with this being demonetized, which I'm not monetized, by the way. So I'm just here trying to build up this channel, and this is my first official live stream on this channel.
Mainstream, and it's intensely sad. And I think the way we get back to a civil society is by teaching children and teaching ourselves.
I think that at some point, maybe he thought he was saying the right things, but you start to question yourself. I believe And I do think that he probably was showing signs of pushback. And I think that this assassination was for everybody to see, like that's something we're never going to know. They're going to use this for everything else, for surveillance, for everything. But me personally, I've seen these contract killings with rap music, with all stuff. So it feels like something like that to me.
That's from the same.
Yeah, and ain't no telling exactly like what was the motive. Like I said, we don't know the motive, and even certain things that would be known, some of the stuff won't even be revealed to us anyway, because of just the way this society is. You can't trust really the government, to be honest. Yeah, you can't trust the government is gonna, give you the right information about why this happened. Because there was enough people there that they saw this man walk up or bring out his gun. And in certain countries, they would have just murked that man on the spot. One thing about the Western world, we know if somebody does something like that, you do not kill him, because you need him to be brought to justice, and you need to know the motive. If you take him out, you may not know the motive. So if you can subdue him without taking him out, that's better for you for future prevention, to know who sent him, or just know if this guy was just motivated just by what he was seeing on social media, and he decided to act upon those things that he saw. I'm actually trying to check something. Which don't know whether or not that's boy, oh boy, this is crazy. Surprised I still even had this up. Yeah, we're in a time. I think this is really the turning point or transition of American politics. There's no doubt about it. There's no doubt about it that this is going to be viewed as a turning point especially for those in the social media sphere. They're going to have to reconsider exactly how they plan on moving about with this type of news. Yeah. So that's what it is, and I'm gonna actually have to shut this down for the sake of some time. Probably try and get back to this and maybe see what's going on. I'll get back to y'all later. Hope you enjoyed the stream. Let me know in the comments what you think. Like, share, subscribe, and I'll catch you hopefully sometime in the future.